Right, but I announced that we're...
Oh, that bill's on call.
The bill's on call. Currently it stands 3 ayes and 2 noes. And now we'd like to have Senator Wynn come up and present SB 1088, please. For you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I also want to thank Senator Holly Mitchell for allowing me to present before her. Today, I present to you a bill involving a case that was unsettling to the residents of Orange County and especially heartbreaking to the parents of a young woman named Erica Alonso. On Valentine's Day 2015, Erica went missing, prompting community-wide spread search efforts. These search efforts were extensive and involved law enforcement, family, friends, and complete strangers who were moved by her disappearance. On April 27th, Erica's body was found more than 70 days after being reported missing. As a parent, I cannot begin to imagine the anguish that the Alonso family went through during this time frame, not knowing what happened to their daughter. For the Alonso family, many questions remain unanswered. Although the investigation determined that Erica's death was accidental, the location where her body was found indicates that someone attempted to conceal her body. Sadly, after a long and costly search, Erica was found in a remote section of the Cleveland National Forest. During her disappearance, her father, Mr. Alonso, who is with us here today, and his wife, visited my office to ask for our help posting missing person signs. He returned a few months later to share his grief and his concerns with current California law under which the person who moved Erica's body can only be charged with a sentencing equivalent to a petty theft. Specifically, he wanted to further discourage individuals from concealing bodies after an accidental death and consequently minimizing the suffering of families like his. Under current law, individuals who conceal bodies after an accidental death can only be charged with a misdemeanor. Mr. Alonso and I both agreed that a judge deserves the discretion to elevate this punishment to a felony if the facts of the crime so merits it. That is why I have brought forward SB 1088 today. Taking and moving a body deserves a penalty more severe than a mere slap on the wrist. We need to do something so that individuals are discouraged from this kind of behavior. Mr. and Mrs. Alonso have been the driving force behind this bill. They have been instrumental in gathering over 5,000 signatures across the state in support of SB 1088 through both signatures and a powerful change.org petition. No one is more qualified to speak about this impact of this bill than the Alonso family, and today I have Mr. and Mrs. Alonso to be my witness.
Thank you, Senator Wynn, for your presentation. Mr. and Mrs. Alonso, we welcome you to the committee. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having us here. Yes, my name is Isaac Alonso, and yes, on February 14th of last year, my daughter disappeared. My daughter disappeared. We didn't know anything about her, and we started looking for her like crazy, you know, because we love her so very much. And then, almost 3 months later, they found her body dead in a remote area. And when the worst thing is that when I asked the investigator what kind of a punishment someone who do that was going to take, that's what they told me, that they were going to take only about 1 year in prison, and that's that. So that was, to me, that was like a slap on my face, because I said, how can somebody who could know so much what happened to that person take that kind of a sentence when they are committing a big crime, hiding a body, trying to get rid of it without cooperating with the law and do the right thing. And I said, we gotta do something. There's no way that I can get my daughter back to life now, but I know that we can save other people's lives because it happened a lot before and it's still happening after. So we decided to do something about that. And the community has been giving us a lot of support on this because they want to feel safe. They want to feel that the law is on their side. And they want to feel justice too, as much as we do. We don't even know who killed our daughter or what happened to her. We don't know who put her body on that canyon. But we want to do something about it so that we can improve the law to make it better. So I thank you for having us here today and helping us on this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alonso.
Hello, everybody. My name is Margarita Alonso. I'm Erica's mom. And this is the most terrible pain parents go through. And, you know, and she was a beautiful girl. She was a very good child. She was full of dreams and hopes. She had a lot of goals for her future. After her death, I found her journal with more of 14 goals in her life. The first one says she's gonna get her college degree. And another one says she's gonna get married and have kids and take her kids to the Disneyland. And she won't be able to do this anymore. But you know, I'm struggling with the pain of losing my child, and now still struggling with the pain of not having justice because the investigators told me it's just a misdemeanor dumping a body. There is nothing you can do. There is not much to do because it's only a misdemeanor. But I think this should be a felony, dumping a body, because nobody gonna keep a body for about 3 months, put it in a plastic bag, and dump it very far away. Nobody gonna do this for fun. When somebody do this, it's because he's hiding a crime, he's hiding a murder. And please, I need your support to this bill get changed. I know I'm not gonna bring my daughter back, but it's about community safety. It's about to saving somebody else's life. Because I think if this bill passed, the criminals gonna think twice about hurting somebody else. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Alfonso. It takes a lot of courage to be here to tell your story and to reframe all the grief that you and your husband and family have experienced for a larger public policy benefit. It takes wisdom as well. So we thank you. And you do Erica's memory a great deed by being here.
Thank you for your time.
Do we have other folks who would like to speak in support of Senator Wynn's bill? Please come forward.
My name is Cecilia. I represent Orange County. I support the bill SB 1088.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Corey Salzillo here on behalf of the California State Sheriff's Association in support of the bill.
Lieutenant Wayne Billowit on behalf of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, also in support.
Good afternoon, Ruann Dozier from the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office in support.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of Senator Wynn's bill 1088? If not, we'll ask those who might be in opposition to please step forward. Welcome, Ms. Minsker.
Good afternoon. Natasha Minsker on behalf of the ACLU of California. Regretfully, we are opposed. My deepest condolences to you over the loss of your daughter. It's a tragic situation. I do want to clarify that the bill only addresses situations in which there has been an accidental death and that death has been hidden in some way. It doesn't cover the situation in which there is actually evidence of an intentional homicide, of a crime having been concealed. So I just want to be clear about what the bill does. And in these situations in which there is an accidental death and a person acts to conceal that death, these are rare situations. They are always tragic situations, situations in which people respond out of fear and panic, which is not to excuse the conduct. It is conduct that should be criminalized and appropriately is criminalized under California law. And as this committee well knows, increasing the severity of a sentence will not actually lead to a greater deterrent effect. What will increase the deterrent effect is actually increasing the likelihood of actually catching, apprehending, and convicting people who commit these offenses. And in situations such as this, the important message to send to law enforcement is to take the offense seriously and do the investigation to actually apprehend the person who did hide the accidental death. That is what will actually lead to a greater deterrent effect, not increasing sentences in situations such as this. So unfortunately, while this bill is well-intentioned, it will not achieve the goal, and we do urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Minsker. Anybody else in opposition? If not, we will open this to the committee for any questions. Senator Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, Mr. and Mrs. Alonso, my deepest sympathies to you. And it's a worst nightmare that a parent could ever face, and losing a child and the ordeal and debacle that you've had to live through. I want to thank you for being here today, and thank you for your courage and trying to make some changes so that other families don't have to endure the tragedy and the issues that you've had to deal with. I also respect my colleague from the ACLU that's here today that doesn't believe that increasing it to a felony won't be a deterrent. I'm not sure we have evidence to that fact, but you know what? It may not be a deterrent, but it certainly deserves a larger punishment. You know, and that's one thing that seems to get lost in this building is we don't deal with enhancing punishments for people that do bad things. And this was a bad thing that was done to your daughter that deserves to move up to a felony status so we can take a position in the state of California that we don't condone this kind of activity. And with that, I'll move the bill.
Thank you, Senator Stone. Senator, it was mentioned that this would only impact accidental death. So I imagine that if it's an intentional death, that's a murder. And so a murder, if you're moving a body, you're an accomplice, that already would be charged as a felony.
Yes.
Do we know how many or if there are any reported cases of this kind of crime currently listed as a misdemeanor?
I do not have that information, Senator. But one thing I wanted to comment, though, is the reason why we need this bill, because a misdemeanor holds the statute of limitation to only 1 year. And if it's a felony, it opens the case up to 3 years for the investigators. As ACLU mentioned, we want to be able to find the individual and have the evidence. Misdemeanor gives a 1 year limitation and the case is done. A felony charge can at least, it would actually allow it to be given up to 3 years to find all the evidence. And in this case, the body has disappeared for 3 months. And then her car was found 8 weeks after, a few blocks away from her ex-boyfriend's house. And yet, you know, it's taken them, you know, another month later to find a body that is 25 miles away from where her car was at. And so, you know, this bill is, you know, is important because a misdemeanor, 1 year limitation, it's done. A felony charge would give it as 3 years. And like ACLU mentioned, we should get to the bottom of it. We should have that time, but a misdemeanor won't give us that time.
I noticed that no one was here from the California District Attorneys Association, but there was someone here from Sacramento's District Attorney Office. Could I ask you to come up? I have a question for you. Not so much specifically for you, but to a district attorney.
And actually, I'm glad you asked me to come back up because we had a case here in Sacramento County. Would you like to hear about it?
If you could briefly.
Okay, it's just real brief. So the victim was very, very ill and was being taken care of by an IHS worker, in-home healthcare worker. And we don't know how the woman died. It could have been natural causes. But he concealed that death for many months, and at that time continued to take his payment. He got his check, and he would cash those checks. We were stuck with a misdemeanor because of the death, the concealing of the accidental death, but we were able to file a felony because of the amount of money that he stole from the state. So that is a case, an example of one that has happened here.
Okay.
And then what was your question? I'm sorry, Senator.
So as far as you know, it's the rare situation to begin with.
Correct. But we were quite frustrated by the fact we couldn't file a felony.
So with regard to Senator Wynn's comments regarding statute of limitations, right now there is no charge. We don't have anybody. The crime's still being investigated. So there could be, under current law, ongoing investigations past 12 months, right, until some information is gathered sufficient enough to bring charges against anybody.
Well, if the coroner determines that it's an accidental death, then we just have the year,
okay,
right? But if the coroner suspects something else, that it could be a homicide, then we're going to have a longer statute of limitation.
Okay. And then related question is, as the legislation proposes this to be a wobbler, so it could be charged by the district attorney either as the misdemeanor or as a felony, can you give us some idea of what the circumstances might be that would lead to the charge of the felony as opposed to the misdemeanor, or do you imagine you'll always use this as a felony?
No,
I
I don't.
Cases, and what would that case be if you would still, with the authority to charge as a felony, still decide to charge as a misdemeanor?
Okay, so let's use, for example, the facts that I just gave you, but change the facts a little bit. So let's say we have...
Without the checks.
Without the checks.
Right,
so let's say we had a family member caring for that victim.
Right.
And the victim passed away, and that family member was overwhelmed, didn't know what to do, was scared, what have you. We would not file that as a felony. But in the latter situation that where he was actually concealing it for his own gain, then we would elect to file a felony. Does that answer your question?
Actually, very helpful and very to the point.
Okay, great.
Thank you. So, Senator Wynn, I will be supporting the bill today. I do not disagree with the ACLU on this point, though. From all my experience serving as chair and member of public safety committees over the past 14 years, I have not come to learn that extending felonies or even terms of imprisonment to be much of a deterrent for crime. In fact, as someone who has opposed the death penalty for my entire life and somewhat of a student of it, I've come to learn that states that don't have the death penalty and have life imprisonment without the possibility of parole have lower rates of murder than some states like California that do have the death penalty. So even in the extreme crime of murder, it doesn't seem to prove that it's a deterrent to have the death penalty. That said, I think this is going to be used very rarely, and I think the district attorney just gave us a clear example of when it might be more thoughtful and effective to charge a crime, should this become law, as the misdemeanor rather than the felony. But I think another reason, so recognizing that it probably won't be used all that much, but though we all hope that no other family will have to experience what the Alfonso family has recently experienced, there's comfort and value to creating this new wobbler, if only for the comfort of the victims.
And Senator, I don't disagree with you. I don't think doing any of these would deter criminals from committing the crime. This, however, gives the investigator a longer time so that they can go back and double check, because 12 months, as you know, with all the caseloads they have, sometimes there are times where they have to go back and they find something else. And so this would give them definitely, instead of 12 months, 3 years to be able to do that investigation. And it is a very rare occasion. And so I don't disagree. You know, there are crimes that we would like to, or laws that we would like to deter criminals. Unfortunately, they don't always, the study doesn't come out to be. My goal is to allow the investigators to give family like the Alonso family, give them an opportunity to get the answer if there are other evidence that comes into play and gives that longer period.
All right, we'll take that as your close.
Yes, I just, again, as a mother and an advocate for public safety, I ask to help bring justice to the families like the Alonso, whose suffering was prolonged because of their loved one's body was relocated after death. Again, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator, for your fine presentation. And to Mr. and Mrs. Alonso, again, we thank you so much for being here and for your advocacy on behalf of Erica. And if there are no other comments, we'll take a motion from Senator Stone, and we will call the roll.
Hancock.
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Anderson. Glazer. Leno.
Aye.
Leno, aye. Liu. Monning. Stone. Stone, aye.
So we'll hold that bill on call for the absent members, but I expect that it will pass. And again, thank you all so much for being here.
Senator Mitchell. Sorry, Senator Hertzberg was a very quick.
Okay, so we will take Senator Hertzberg next, and then we're going to have Senator Mitchell with 3 bills, and then the committee is going to take a half-hour break and reconvene in room 113?
2040.
In room 2040. Okay, Senator Hertzberg.
There's no opposition.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. This committee has heard this driver's license issue many times, and so I will be very brief with respect to the particular focus of this measure. And what it does, it tries to decouple the notion of loss of driver's license for failure to pay. In other words, it's all about the issue of paying for your liberty. You should pay in society for the wrongs that you commit, but you should not have to pay for your liberty. We have a witness here that will testify very briefly in a compelling case that makes the point. I ask for your support of this measure. Please.
Hi, my name is Vilia Duenas. I am from Los Angeles, Van Nuys, California, and I support SB 881. When I was a teenager, I got some juvenile tickets that suspended my driver's license, and I could not pay. Because at the time I was a minor in school. Since then, I've been arrested 3 times for driving without a license. On a suspended license, for each time, I've been given 3 years of probation, fines, and jail time. The first time I was sentenced to 149 days in jail. I served 7 days of those jails due to overpopulation. I served 7 of those days due to overpopulation, away from my family and kids. Jail was very uncomfortable and miserable place to be. As a mother of 2, the last thing you want to do is take time away from your kids to spend a few days in jail. And for someone that's never been in jail or committed any type of crime or felony, I can say it was very overwhelming, stressful place to be. Under all that, depression starts to kick in into the point where you feel like the walls are closing in on you. The second time I was sentenced to 30 days in jail. My sentence included over $2,000 in additional fees, and which I cannot afford to pay because my driver's license suspension is preventing me from finding a stable job. Due to my multiple tickets, they have converted into a felony. The last time I was arrested, I was sentenced to 39 days in jail, 9 days extra. I converted them into jail time. Having a suspended driver's license has a very negative impact on my life due to the fact that I could personally not take my daughters to or doctor's appointments without having to work around a family member's schedule to drive me around. To do my daily errands. On top of that, On top of all that, it's hard to hold up a job when you're not able to transport yourself. Don't get me wrong, I do believe in buses and trains. But when I was a minor, I suffered from Bell palsy that caused me to have a nervous it caused me to have a nervous problem. I tend to panic around loud and crowded places. Now you can imagine how it's jail for me. So please vote SB so that you guys can help stop this from happening to anybody else in any community, anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a very compelling story, I will say. Again, I would note, yeah, no opposition that we know of.
Okay, I'll keep it really quick. I'm Brittany Stone-Cipher from Legal Services for Prisoners with Children. This bill is about, as Senator Hertzberg said, decoupling license suspensions from failure to pay or appear. So right now we have a two-track system where this is not about driving safety. Someone who gets a ticket for rolling through a stop sign or jaywalking or sleeping on a sidewalk and who could hypothetically pay for that, pays it and is done, doesn't get their license suspended. But someone who can't afford to pay has this additional punishment of having their license suspended without there being any kind of adjudication.
Madam Chair, Mike Carroll with the Western Center on Law and Poverty. We're a co-sponsor of this measure, and we strongly urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glenn Backus, Drug Policy Alliance, in support.
Khalif Osagai, California Public Defenders Association, in strong support.
Natasha Minsker, ACLU of California, co-sponsor in support.
Kim McGill from the Youth Justice Coalition, we're in strong support.
Maritza Galvez, Youth Justice Coalition, strong support.
Alex Kaplan on behalf of East Bay Community Law Center, strong support.
Dennis Cuevas Romero on behalf of the California Attorneys for Criminal Justice and the California Latinas for Reproductive Justice in support.
Jackie Wong from the National Center for Youth Law in support.
Brian Arredondo with anti-recidivism in full support.
Jennifer Kim with the Ella Baker Center in strong support.
Thank you. Are there speakers in opposition to the bill? Seeing and hearing none, this bill is obviously long overdue, given what happened here. Is there a motion on the bill?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the bill, and if you will be amending the bill going forward, please do add me as a co-author.
Thank you, sir. It'd be an honor.
Thank you.
Okay, please read the roll.
Hancock?
Aye, and I was going to ask the same thing. I would like to be added as a co-author.
Thank you so much.
Forward.
Hancock, aye. Anderson? Glazer? Leno? Aye. Leno, aye. Liu? Monning? Stone?
Thank you.
We will hold the roll open for the absent members, and I want to thank you so much. I hope that you can, that you will find that by telling your story, you've kept this from happening to other people. It's very important. Senator Mitchell. Yes, you. Welcome to the committee. You have 3 bills.
I do. Thank you very much. And unfortunately, oh, she stayed. I appreciate that. In our efforts to accommodate one group of witnesses, I almost lost my own. So I want to thank Superior Court Judge from Santa Clara for staying. All witnesses' time is valuable. With that, I'd like to start with SB 941 to accommodate her calendar, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
That would be, so which one?
SB 941.
Okay. So it's item 5. Let's go.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, today I present Senate Bill 941, a bill which will move fees charged to families when their child is held in youth detention or youth probation. Under current state law, counties may assess juvenile administration fees against parents or guardians of youth who are involved in the juvenile justice system. Parents are charged fees for nights in juvenile hall and other detention facilities, electronic monitoring, drug tests, probation supervision, pretrial investigation, and counsel. Not only are parents charged, but there are stories of foster parents being charged thousands of dollars for taking in youth because of these fees. While California is not unique in charging these fees, the burden of these fees on all families and the heavy disparate burden on families of color is well documented across the state.
The goals of the juvenile justice system include preserving and strengthening family ties and facilitating the speedy reunification of the minor with his or her family. Juvenile fees frustrate these goals by harming familial economic stability and straining family relations. With national attention focused on offender-funded justice, the state has an opportunity to lead on this pressing issue by passing SB 941. Today, in support of this bill, again, I have Judge Catherine Lucero with the Superior Court from Santa Clara County and Maritza Galvez from the Youth Justice Coalition. We also have here Meredith DeSaltes of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights of the San Francisco Bay for technical assistance if it is needed.
Okay, I would like to point out again, there is no known opposition to the bill. I really appreciate the work that all of the law centers and UC have done on this, but please be brief.
Yes. Members, Madam Chair, I really just want to be here to tell you that I witness this day, every day in court. I hear about 100 cases a week. That's 100 families. I have 14-year-olds asking me if they can work instead of go to school to help pay these fines and fees. I have parents wanting to leave their children behind because they're just too costly. They literally want to leave their children behind. So the goal of rehabilitation, reunification is just thrown out the window with these very oppressive, burdensome, and rather punitive fees and fines. This doesn't at all touch restitution to victims. Restitution fines will still remain in place, but it does touch on the issue of housing and electronic monitoring and supervision of the youth. So I would urge I and the California Juvenile Justice all of the judges of the California juvenile justice system support this bill, and I wanted to bring that message to you today.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, Senators. My name is Maritza Galvez. I'm with the Youth Justice Coalition. We are proud to be co-sponsors of SB 941. First of all, we want to thank Senator Holly Mitchell for taking the lead on changing the harmful policy of charging families for the time their child is involved within the juvenile justice system. I started organizing with the YJC when I was 13 years old, 10 years ago, actually. My mother was incarcerated. I was 13 years old. I was literally left on the street by law enforcement that arrested her. My oldest sister had just passed away. My father was working 30 miles away, and my other sister was addicted to meth. My mother's 2-year incarceration heightened my family's pain. It put us through turmoil. We slept in more motels than I can remember. And during that time, I got arrested for shoplifting $20 of medicine. I had a cold and I didn't have money to pay. The truth was, when I was arrested, my family got a bill from probation. And just as the same as every other family, my realities were never considered when that bill reached a parent that was incarcerated and another one that wasn't home. When families are already stretched financially and emotionally, bills from probation only add to conflict and stress. At a time when young people most need family support, probation bills increase resentment and anger. With the Youth Justice Coalition, I began organizing with family members who had young people at Sylmar Juvenile Hall. One mother, so I'll share a couple of their stories, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to be brief as possible. One mother who wanted to remain anonymous had 2 children at home and 1 locked up in probation camp. Her son was in and out of camp for minor probation violations such as missing school or being out past curfew. She had worked for the past 8 years at a dry cleaners where she earned $685 a month. Her husband worked as an assistant to a gardener, earning $650 a month. She paid probation $50 a month for 14 months and still had $11,000 to pay. The Pop family lived in South Central Los Angeles and had 3 children and 2 grandchildren living at home. Edwin Pop was 17 and his family had a bill for his time in Los Padrinos and a placement Optimist home for over $6,000. Edwin's mother and his 21-year-old sister had already paid $3,000. His mother was laid off from her job at a curtain making factory, so she pawned all her jewelry in order to raise the majority of the first payment. In order to make ends meet, the Pop family rented half of their house to another family in order to pay the difference for the probation bills. These are just 2 stories of families, real families that we met when we worked outside of Sylmar Juvenile Hall. Families that were literally showing us liens and threats of garnishing their wages. Over 95% of the families charged probation fees by LA County were families of color. Detention cost $23.63 per day. That's almost $775 a month. And placement was $11.94 per day. In some cases, family received bills before disposition of their child's case, meaning that youth who were later found innocent were still billed, because white youth who were also more likely to be middle class or wealthy have access to court and detention alternatives. Poor families of color, unfortunately, end up paying much more for the exact same charges. Collecting the fees also, and I think this is a really, really important part, costs almost as much as what is collected. Despite increasingly aggressive billing policies, only $2.6 million of the $23.6 million billed by LA County Probation in 2008 was recovered. To recover even that small portion, the county spent $812,000 on a 5-person collections office within probation and $56,000 on an Austin, Texas-based collections agency. We won a moratorium on billing in LA County, but counties throughout the state will have maintained and still maintain aggressive billing practices that hurt youth and our families. Inconsistent billing practices throughout the state is equal to justice by geography. And we know that justice applied differently is no justice at all. For all these reasons, I urge you to vote yes on SB 941. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Others in support?
Glenn Backus for Ella Baker Center for Human Rights in support.
Natasha Minsker, ACLU of California, in support.
Kim Lewis, representing Aspirinet and the California Coalition for Youth, in support.
Lexi Howard, on behalf of the Juvenile Court Judges of California, a section of the California Judges Association, in support.
Khalif Asagai on behalf of Children's Defense Fund California, as well as the California Public Defenders Association, in support.
Kim McGill from the Youth Justice Coalition, honored to be co-sponsors on this bill. Thank you.
Elizabeth Calvin with Human Rights Watch, in support.
Frankie Guzman with the National Center for Youth Law and the California Alliance for Youth and Community Justice, in support.
Jessica Bartholo with the Western Center on Law and Poverty, sponsor, in support.
Tim Morrison with Children Now, in support.
Maureen Washburn with the Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice, in support.
Brittany Stonecipher with Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, in strong support.
Ignacio Hernandez on behalf of the California Attorneys for Criminal Justice, in support.
Thank you. Are there others in support? Are there speakers in opposition to the bill? Seeing and hearing none, are there questions and comments or a motion from Senator Leno?
This is an issue of economic as well as social justice, and I applaud you, Senator.
Thank you, sir.
I move the bill.
Thank you.
Very good. Couldn't have put it better myself. Would you like to close, Senator Mitchell?
I ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Please read the roll.
Hancock.
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Anderson. Glazer. Leno.
Aye.
Leno, aye. Liu. Monning. Stone.